As we all know that the innovation ecosystem in MENA is growing rapidly. We are seeing some serious startups emerge that are building strong foundations for an innovation economy here. We have a strong infrastructure for accelerators, expert corporate resources, investors. But from the investment side, we still see a lot of room for growth, especially in a space like climate. The growth of a startup ecosystem globally is closely tied to the engagement of capital allocators. And when I say capital allocators, I don't only mean angel investors, but a broader group that includes corporations, family offices, foundations, corporate social responsibility departments, government bodies, and other funding entities. Conscious investment, often referred to as impact investing, provides a framework for deploying capital into ventures that address social, environmental, and other challenges while generate financial returns. Globally, while this approach is gaining momentum, we do see a gap in the MENA region. And the gap that we've identified is a lack of dedicated advocates for this kind of investment. This realization inspired us to create the Conscious Investor Fellowship, a program launched 3 years ago by VentureSouq and startAD. The Conscious Investor Fellowship trains individuals to foster a community of capital allocators who can prioritize both financial returns and measure impact while strengthening the region's capability to drive sustainable innovation. VentureSouq is a UAE-based early-stage venture capital firm that invests in climate for the last 5 years. They've got a global portfolio of over 20 companies in this space. startAD is an innovation platform powered by Tamkeen and anchored at NYU Abu Dhabi. And we have designed over and delivered several innovation programs from incubators, accelerators to fellowships. So what is Conscious Investment Fellowship? While I'll let Lola take you on a deep dive at a high level, this program A is for capital allocators and not just for investors. It's a pan-regional program to strengthen the innovation ecosystem, especially in the climate space. It supports a broad range of capital allocators who are early on in their investment journey or are already investing in other adjacent markets. This program is an 8 to 9 week structured process, giving the fellows skills, tools, resources, and networks to develop your own conscious investment strategy. Over the years, we've been extremely privileged to partner with leading organizations like Hub 71, Wide Capital, US Mission, Sheikha. This year, we are thrilled to partner with the Environmental Agency Abu Dhabi, and we are super excited to embark on this journey of the third investment fellowship together. Now, it's my honor and pleasure to welcome Her Excellency Sheikha Al Mazrouei, the Executive Director of Integrated Environment Policy and Planning at EAD Abu Dhabi. Before I welcome her to the dais, a quick bio. Her Excellency has managed multiple divisions at the Environmental Agency during a long tenure of over 2 decades since her joining in 2002. Her role involves developing mechanisms for evaluating the implementation of policies and legislation and their environmental, economic, and social impact after the adoption and implementation. Her remit also includes ensuring environmental policies, regulations, and strategies are in line with government standards. She has spearheaded landmark initiatives like Abu Dhabi Single-Use Plastic Policy, the Styrofoam ban, the Abu Dhabi Climate Change Strategy, while leading the development of Environmental Centennial 2071 and contributing to the Environmental Vision 2030. Her leadership has earned her accolades, including the Distinguished CEO Award in 2002. With that, Your Excellency, welcome to the webinar.
Thank you very much, Ashwin, and hello, everyone. My pleasure to be with you today. It is a pleasure to welcome you to this information session for the Conscious Investor Fellowship. Alongside our valued partners, startAD and VentureSouq, and on behalf of Environment Agency Abu Dhabi, I am excited to see so many committed and forward-thinking investors gathered here, eager to explore the critical role that investment in climate tech can play in driving a sustainable future. The Conscious Investor Fellowship is a transformative program at the intersection of climate action and investment. It empowers you as investors to deepen your understanding of the emerging field of climate tech and equips you with the knowledge, network, and tools needed to make the informed and impactful investment decisions in early stage of climate technologies. This is a vital opportunity for you to develop strategies that align financial returns with environmental impact. This collaboration supports a strategic priority for the Emirate of Abu Dhabi, accelerating climate finance and investment, and directly contributes to EAD's efforts to achieve one of the objectives of Abu Dhabi's climate change strategy 2023-2027. Driving a low carbon innovation and economic diversification agenda, which is critical in our pursuit to on our pursuit of the ambitious goals of reaching the net zero by 2050. At EAD, we recognize that the path to low carbon economy is not a challenge we can solve alone. It requires collaboration across government, businesses, and investors alike. The Conscious Investor Fellowship is one of the initiatives though which we can work together to strengthen the local environmental innovation and investment ecosystem and drive the change needed to achieve our climate target. Your participation in this program will help us increase investment in companies committed to climate action and in technologies contributing to adaptation and mitigation efforts, ensuring we can build a resilient economy while protecting our planet for future generations. By focusing on early stage climate tech, you will be positioning yourself at the forefront of the industry that is not only shaping the future of global economies, but also safeguarding our environment. The knowledge and strategies you gain from this fellowship will allow you to identify and support the next generation of climate solutions that are essential to meeting the challenges of rapidly changing world. I encourage each of you to take full advantage of this fellowship. Together, we can contribute to the transformation needed to achieve our shared goals of advancing climate tech investment and reaching a net zero future by 2050. Thank you for your commitment to a more sustainable world, and I look forward to seeing the impact you will make as a participant in this Conscious Investor Fellowship. Best of luck.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency, for those inspiring words and for laying out the vision for EAD and the program. We are incredibly thrilled to have you as a partner on the program and look forward to working with you closely. I now hand over the dais to Lola. So Lola Fernandez is a principal at VentureSouq. She's an active investor in climate technologies and also has been one of the individuals shaping this initiative ever since our beginning 3 years back. Lola, you know so much more about this program. I hand it over to you to talk about the details and help everyone understand what the Climate Investor Fellowship is like. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Ashwin, and thank you so much, Her Excellency. That was inspiring. I am going to go ahead and share my screen and hopefully share a little bit more details with everyone and answer some of the questions that you may have. In short, we have been running this fellowship since 2020. If you've been in the tech ecosystem in the region, there was a massive transformation from 2018 until 2021, where the ecosystem just took its next leap. And startAD and VentureSouq identified a gap and an interest of investors to invest in mission-driven technologies. So we partnered to create the first pan-regional investment program focused on impact investing. For us, it's super important that this is a pan-regional program. The region needs to unite to bring the ecosystem together and tackle industries and issues like climate change. So we've been very proud and excited to have hosted 2 editions already of this fellowship with over 50 alumni, bringing speakers from all around the world, both from North America, Asia, LATAM. We really have gone global. And the theme for this year, thanks to our partner environmental agency, it's something that is really close to our heart. It's climate tech investing. For us at VentureSouq, we've been investing in climate for the past 5 years, both globally and regionally, and it's one of our core thesis. So we're very excited to be hosting this 3rd edition focused on climate. Briefly, just why climate? The funding for climate has gained momentum, but we need more. As Her Excellency mentioned, this is an economic problem that is going to shape our entire world and life for the next decades to come. So we need to start shaping how the investor ecosystem looks like, especially in the region, as tech is leveraged more to address the impacts of climate change. And the UAE was actually speaking very loudly about this a couple of years ago. We wanted to continue a little bit the COP momentum as well after COP28 in the UAE. In case you weren't here, that was one of the UN climate conferences that is hosted annually, and the UAE hosted it and drove a couple of like very important resolutions. But really, the focus of the summit was something that resonated a lot with us, which is we need to fix climate finance, and technology is like a core solution for addressing the mitigation and the adaptation to our new reality with the impacts of climate change. And the region needs, to evolve and start addressing these impacts. In general, Middle Eastern investors have contributed billions of dollars to climate tech, but we need to also start thinking how those technologies are deployed in the region. And so we invested something to the north of $50 million last year, but that doesn't mean that the ecosystem is growing. The ecosystem, in fact, is growing a lot in the region, and so we need the group of investors that will take it to the next step. And so in short, that's what we're trying to do with this fellowship. We're trying to bring together the top emerging C-suite executives that care about this topic, that want to align their returns with climate impact. And that's what we're hoping to do this year from May until July. In general, a typical profile of our fellows have been someone with like a deep appetite and curiosity. We accept leaders from all types of entities. So we've had leaders from government institutions, from corporates, from family offices, from other venture capital funds. The idea is actually to bring together this fragmented ecosystem. And that's actually one of the things that fellows have highlighted in the past. They really enjoy connecting with their peers from other markets and learning that there are more people interested in climate. And there's a lot also of like peer mentoring that happens throughout the fellowship due to that diversity. We think about this fellowship in 4 main blocks. The first one is Learn. Fellows will have weekly sessions covering the full investment cycle of how to invest in early stage climate technologies. That goes from how to think about your portfolio, how to due diligence a company, how to negotiate on valuations and legal documents, to then dive a little bit deeper into specific themes, or what we call master classes, that can cover specific topics like how to invest with a gender lens, how to invest in the specific AI meets climate topic that everyone's talking about these days. So there's a lot of content in the fellowship. Second building block is Develop. The expectation for the fellows is to participate, and to participate in an active manner. And so you'll have homeworks throughout the fellowship that their only objective is for you to have all the experience in developing an investment strategy in this industry, including how do you measure the impact of your portfolio? What type of strategies do you do, and can you develop? And you will have the support of both VentureSouq and startAD in developing those. We have virtual office hours, which are very popular every session. And finally, you'll have a chance to present your work and your vision at the end of the fellowship. The third building block is ACT, and that's also related to the homework, and that will be like your time to shine to present your thesis. And finally, connect, and this is one of the parts where I think it's one of the highlights of the fellowship. Every cohort has 20 to 30 people that end up just building teams and working together, and representing and growing the ecosystem in the GCC, which is something very exciting. I've talked a little bit about this, but the content covers like everything in the investment cycle, and we also base the content on fellows' feedback from both the current cohort and previous cohorts. And there's very much like a direct conversation with the global practitioners that will lead each module. So each module is led by different fund managers or founders that have been pushing the boundaries of each of these topics. And we'll talk about the speakers later on. Yes, I've mentioned about the bi-weekly office hours, and then you have a chance to connect with the rest of your fellows, both offline and online. This would not be possible without our partners, and we're so fortunate and so grateful to the Environment Agency Abu Dhabi to partner with us and talk about this like very important topic that is climate tech investing regionally, and we're very excited for this edition. Previous edition of the fellowship have also been supported by also very cool entities, including KAUST and WAID, Hub 71, again trying to bring together everyone in the ecosystem. Just want to walk through a couple of quick highlights from previous cohorts. Our fellows really come from like a really diverse set of backgrounds, and I think that's what enriches a lot the cohort. So we've had directors of innovations, chief investment officers, chief sustainability officers from all the entities that you see on screen and more. And practically that, what means that is that fellows will find either their counterpart in another market or someone that they can collaborate with, and just try and work together to understand and develop the ecosystem better. A couple of stats on our cohort. It's really important for us to have a gender balanced cohort, and it's proven to be very effective. Most of our cohorts identify themselves as angel investors, but they also work at corporates, venture capital firms, and the majority of the cohort comes from the GCC, and a lot of them were investors, but a grand majority were starting with their impact investing journey. So that was also something of a highlight to just keep pushing that journey throughout the fellowship, and learning from their other fellows and from the leaders that were leading each module. And yeah, I think we've got a pretty good rep. It's truly a program that people enjoy. And just so you understand a little bit more who can lead these modules, we had Mariki Spence from Impact Capital Managers, Jihan Chu from Kinetic Capital, representing more the Asian perspective, Christian Osberg talking about how fintech can be leveraged for conscious investing. Professors from Oxford and from NYU. So there's we try to bring a variety of perspectives also to the modules. And we also have and organize meetups. The program will be fully virtual, but it is true that whenever there's an event going on, or maybe fellows just say, that's enough, we want to meet people in person. We will organize a meetup, and it's something that continues happening every year. And it's something sweet that continues the fellowship. And luckily, we've also been able to expand the message of the fellowship forward. So, post completion of the fellowship, fellows will start integrating their strategies, and also be a little bit more active in regional conversations about how to drive this investment thesis forward and best practices. So we've also been very fortunate to witness that. And the last piece of information, the fellowship culminates in Angel Rising, which is our annual investor symposium. And we've been running that for the past 10 years now. And the last one was focused on ClimateTech as well. And I think the past couple of editions have been really focused on tech for good, and that's been able to attract also a lot more people and a lot more diversity in attendees. So fellows will also have the chance to participate both as attendees, but also if they want to be more engaged in Angel Rising, they have the opportunity to. And we've been hosting this for a long time, so we've reached a lot of people. And yeah, we're also fortunate to have a pretty gender balanced group of attendees, also inviting as much as a diverse list of speakers as we can, and just reaching millions of people in terms of content. And with that, we want to encourage you to nominate yourself or nominate whoever you think would be a good candidate for the fellowship. And we're going to open it to Q&A. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Lola. So everyone, I think it will be wonderful to get your questions on any of the program features or anything that you may have in mind regarding to the design of the program, the learning that you'll get. How do you nominate yourself? What is the process? Please drop in your questions in the Q&A chat, and we'll be very happy to answer. Okay, let's see if we are getting any questions here. Looks like, Lola, you did a fantastic job. We don't have any questions coming in.
I was extra clear today.
Okay, there's someone who's raised a hand. Could you type in a question? This is a webinar, so we may not be able to speak to you. If you could type in a question into the Q&A.
Okay, I can start
Okay,
answering.
Guys, if you can hear me, it's only because the chat is disabled for everyone. That's what I was trying to get at when I was raising my hand. So that's the only reason you're probably not getting any questions, but I'm happy to ask the one question for Lola that I do have, if that's okay. And then while you guys can enable the chat feature.
Sure.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Very excited to hear about this program. I've heard about it in the ecosystem about a year and a half or so ago, so very excited to be a part of this. You mentioned that we could nominate ourselves, but if you could maybe dive into what the selection criteria and process looks like for you guys on the back end, that would be great.
Yeah, that's perfect. And I'm glad that people are talking about the program. Yeah, so I think we really look for candidates that meet the criteria that I was showing. So senior people that are curious and ready to act. Other than that, we also spend a lot of time trying to understand the why behind each application, and also the bandwidth. I think it's important. Everyone is very busy and we want to be respectful of everyone's time, but we also want to make sure that fellows get what they want from the program, and they can also like contribute the hours that the program requires. So I think a lot of the conversations are around that. In terms, just to give you a little bit more of an insight as to how it happens, the selection. So you can nominate yourself or other people in the link that I'm going to put in the chat right now. And once we receive that, we go through all the details, and we will schedule an interview with you, into which you can ask any questions, and we'll probably go through the same topics that I mentioned. And then about a week after, you should be able to hear from us, whether it's a yay or a nay. Hope that answered the question.
It does. Thank you so much, Lola. Also, maybe a little bit around the timelines. I understand it's an 8-week process, but what's the deadline for submission? Plus. Thanks.
Yeah. So that's a perfect question that I did not touch upon. So thank you. So the deadline for submission is April 7th. And that is because the program will kick off in May 7th. So we want to give people plenty of time to interview and then prepare for the program.
Great, thank you.
Awesome. If it's okay with everyone, I'm just gonna go through the Q&A questions. So Joaquim, hi Joaquim, I am trying to read this. So the program is free for the fellows, and we did that on purpose, so there were no frictions or anything. If you want to learn how to invest in climate, you can do that with us. So that's great. I'm gonna move on.
I think for the benefit of the people asking the questions, the attendees can't see the questions. So if you can read the question, so everyone knows what the question is, and then answer it.
So then, Lola, let me read the questions out and you answer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Perfect.
All right. So the next one is Musadak. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. What specific criteria should potential nominees meet to be considered for the fellowship?
Yes. So we are looking for people that meet our sort of like perfect profile. I'm sorry. Perfect profile of fellows. I'm just trying to open the slide again. And let's see. It's essentially C-level suite executives that are somehow managing a budget or funds and would like to learn more how to invest those in early stage climate tech. I don't know if you can see my screen.
We can.
In general, fellows are deeply curious and they tend to be very engaged. And as I said before, they what we look for is the why are you doing this, but also how can you contribute, whether your bandwidth allows for it. Yeah.
So there are a couple of other questions similar to
so
this one on the
if you
selection.
are already investing into startups, you could be at a venture capital firm, you could be a corporate, you could be a philanthropy office, you could be a government office, you could be somebody who's representing your own personal wealth. Suppose you're already making investments into startups and are curious to have more impactful investments that give social as well as economic returns, you could be a potential candidate. And as we showed in the profile of the participants, you could also be non-investors, but you could be, let's say, leading a mandate at a corporate that has like HSBC or like Aramco or NEOM, who is looking to create new innovative mechanisms and industry support. You could be a participant. So essentially somebody who has the intention to have conscious investments and impact investments in the future, somebody who can act. So somebody who can either is already investing today or is looking to invest tomorrow, or is going to set the agenda either through regulation or through reporting, where people can measure and monitor the results of impact investing. That would be the criteria that we would be looking at.
Thank you, Nihal. Lola, the next set of questions are again differently worded, but again, generally on the time amount of commitment that you require per week. What is the total commitment like? And is there something that one needs to do beyond the sessions? So while the sessions are going in place?
Yeah, that's perfect. Yes, so the program is 2 months long. It'll kick off at the beginning of May, and it'll end at the beginning of July. And there will be weekly sessions of content. So let's say 2 hours every week where we spend time learning about X topic, impact, measurement, or due diligence. Beyond that, there are 2 main topics to do. The first one is the homework. And we try to like make that light but meaningful. We don't want you to study for 20 hours every week, but we do want for you to absorb what you just listened and sort of like put it into practice. And we've designed a couple of homework to just adapt what we learn to your own situation and trying to make it and turn it into action. So let's say the first homework would be, let's try and do a case study about impact measurement on one of your portfolio companies. And then it'll progressively get more holistic until you can design your own investment strategy and present it at the end of the fellowship. The second component, apart from the modules, is the interactive sessions. You should, take advantage to meet the fellows in your cohort. And so we do organize socials. In fact, they're requested more often than they're like scheduled for. And so every week or every couple of weeks, we would organize just a social virtual session for everyone to connect. No agenda, just if you want to hang out virtually. And then obviously fellows, for some fellows that are very engaged, they would just set up calls with their peers separately.
So maybe Lola, then 2 hours of time for sessions and maybe another 2 hours per week, right? So it's a max 4 hours of a commitment.
Exactly.
And the entire Conscious Investment Fellowship
Ashwin,
is a virtual program. This was fully on Zoom or any other platform that we may choose. But again, the homework will be in person when you do it yourself. Socials are, of course, in person if you are in the city or the region of Abu Dhabi or Dubai. But the program itself is primarily online. The other question, Lola, was on the timing of the program. Will it be during working hours, evening, any other time?
Yeah, so we typically try to coordinate. We don't want to take out from people's working hours. And so it has typically happened from 5 to 7. It depends on the cohort that we receive. So we typically just run a doodle and see when people can make it. And most sessions are recorded. So if you have to like miss one, you can still catch up.
Let me see. What is the total enrollment size? Are you only focused on investors, capital allocators from the region, or do the individuals can be from anywhere? And also, would you select if their investment mandates are regional or global?
Okay, we need to start that question from the beginning. So was the first question, what's the selection process?
So, how many will be chosen? Number one.
How many will be chosen?
Yeah.
So we typically select 20 to 25 fellows. We try to keep it big enough to have diversity, but small enough for everyone to have a chance to connect with everyone. This program specifically is focused on the GCC and MENA at large. So most of our fellows will be working on funds here in the region. That being said, some people may have investments abroad, and that's completely fine. Yeah.
Let me see one more thing. How can fellows actively participate in angel rising? And what long-term support do they receive once the symposium ends, or I would also say once the fellowship ends?
Yeah. So fellows can participate in many ways in Angel Rising. Some fellows have been speakers. Some fellows have actually helped us like shape a little bit the agenda, nominating other speakers. Some fellows just decided to suggest full-on sessions to do. And I think that Angel Rising is like a very nice culmination to the program where the fellows can also interact with the rest of the ecosystem as well. In terms of long-term support, we typically organize master classes to bring everyone back together and to talk about relevant topics at hand. So we did a master class on food systems and impact investing in Southeast Asia. So I think we tend to be pretty active.
Are there any certificates issued at the end of the program?
Yes, Nihal, you can confirm, but yes.
Yes, there's a certificate by startAD in Abu Dhabi and VentureSouq that will be issued at the end of the program.
There's a question.
Going back to the long-term support, I also want to mention, Lola, how previous fellows had joined the Conscious Collective Fund as well, right? So would there be opportunities for them to participate in any of the funds?
Yes. Yeah. Sorry, can you repeat the question?
The long-term support, right? After fellows complete the fellowship, the previous question. I remember some of our previous fellows had joined the Conscious Collective Fund, right? After completing.
Yeah, and that is not a requirement or anything, but I think the long-term support. So some fellows joined our impact fund at VentureSouq, which is pretty hands-on, I will say. And you get to like spend a lot of time with Sonia and I just going through the investment process and the portfolio. Some other fellows decided to work together and set up some discussions / projects together. A lot of people look at investments together post fellowship. So this is a community that is pretty alive after the program. Even almost 4 years after the first edition, the group is still in discussion for the first cohort. So I think it continues and it grows and varies throughout the years.
And also from a pipeline perspective, so even from the startAD community, from other ecosystem partners and investors, accelerators, we often share profiles of startups who are currently fundraising. There are other opportunities. So again, once you become a fellow, you become a part of the community, and then wherever there are opportunities, we are happy to share and encourage participation.
Yeah, and I think just to add to that, I think it becomes very natural. VentureSouq is one of the few funds that has a climate fund in the region, and startAD has been working with sustainability startups for years. So pipeline sharing and sort of those types of engagements come naturally.
So speaking of community, Nihal, maybe you could answer this one. We've got a message. We are committed in the Arab International Women's Forum to empower women addressing climate change and entering this economy. How can you help direct our members, or how can you help directly our members who are already engaged in climate change?
Dr. Haifa, thank you so much for joining us. Always a pleasure. And absolutely, I think specifically in the investor space, and drilling down further into the ClimateTech investment space, having female investors and members, it's crucial. It's absolutely something we cannot do without. And as the Conscious Investor Fellowship, we're very proud of the fact that we have 50% female fellows, and also Sonia and Lola leading the ClimateTech Fund from here as women investors themselves. They're sort of walking the talk. We'd love to have Arab International Women's Forum members be part of it as fellows, so they could absolutely nominate themselves to be part of the fellowship itself. But beyond that, we could also open access to certain sessions for people who are not fellows necessarily, but could derive value from some of the content. So we'd be happy to open access to be it Angel Rising or the Conscious Investor Fellowship for any particular topics there. We'd love to have this discussion offline too, where we can sort of, come up with custom ways in which we can work together. But absolutely, we've had, like I've mentioned before, we have Standard Chartered Bank, we had HSBC, we had NEOM, we've had such a diversity. We had the different family offices, different philanthropic ventures, fellows representing a very broad sector. So absolutely, I think the Arab International Women's Forum has an incredibly diverse and powerful network, and we believe it could be mutually beneficial for both to come together.
Thank you, Nihal. There's one other question, one individual, Harish. There are two questions I'll merge. One is, does the Conscious Investor Fellowship only promote investments in climate, or are there other sectors? Similarly, will the syllabus be based only on climate, or would it talk about investing in other sectors like AI?
That's a great question. So climate affects everything. That's one thing I will say. This specific edition will be focused on climate tech. And that's the choice that we made, and we're very fortunate to do so. That being said, because climate touches every single part of the economy, we can talk about like how to invest climate and AI, which is one of the hottest topics right now in the industry. You can talk about how to leverage fintech to like advance climate tech. Yeah, there's I think the range of topics is pretty broad.
Ashwin, you're on mute.
Sorry. There were a few more questions again on the working hours, the time of the day. I think we've answered that, right?
Yeah, typically we do them on Wednesdays between 5 and 7. But again, like we mentioned, you could look at that as an estimation. And then once the cohort is selected, we do another confirmation. But typically it's once a week between 5 to 7 p.m. in the evenings, UAE time.
And again, will this webinar be published online? Would it be
We'll put a
something that will be
recording
shared with the
before.
public?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Great. I think we had a good set of questions. Let's wait for a few more minutes if anyone has any other questions that you'd love us to touch upon. There are no open questions at the moment.
I'm wondering, Lola, going back to the previous question about the climate tech focus and how this impacts others, would you like to talk about the masterclasses we've done? And maybe again, while the climate tech is a focus, like you mentioned, climate and health, climate and AI, everything is interrelated. Maybe you can touch upon the masterclass element.
Yeah, I think so masterclasses are focused on specific themes that are emerging in the investment world, right? And so a couple of years ago, we held a masterclass when blockchain was emerging. So we said, okay, how can blockchain be leveraged? Masterclasses can also focus on specific geographies. So there was a growing geography trade between MENA and Southeast Asia. So we hosted a masterclass on like Southeast Asia investment and how that works. I think in general, I would say technology, AI is a layer, blockchain is a layer. Technology in general can be like pretty agnostic. So in that sense, climate for us is in this edition is the main objective, and all the conversations and the master classes will be coming from that lens, right?
Yeah, but I think the takeaway would be we encourage you to apply and be as vocal as you'd like to be about the themes and the topics that are most interesting for you. And then as and when people get shortlisted, we do the interviews. That'll help us assess and help us advise you one-on-one whether we think this edition of the program is the best fit for you or not. But we encourage you to apply, sharing as much information as you can about your own personal mission and appetite.
And we have shared the nomination form links in the chat. In case you've not had a chance to look at that, please take a look at the nomination form. We have all of this information on our website. So we'd love to sort of hear from you and see you participate in this program. Thank you again, everyone, for participating in this webinar. It's been an amazing 1 hour for us to talk to you, hear your queries, share more about the program, and also introduce our partners. Thank you again to Her Excellency Sheikha Mazrouei for your support and for ED support to this program. It's an important piece of the ecosystem that we are building together, and we are super excited to really be a part of this journey. So thank you again, and it's been a wonderful time chatting with all of you, and I look forward to getting your nominations and your interest in the program. Ramadan Kareem to everyone.
Thank you very much.